Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this episode of WunderCAST. We have the privilege of having Dalton Jantzen in the office tonight. He is a part of TW3. I got to meet him at a business event here in our city, and we started talking, and he's doing a lot of amazing things. I wanted to have him on this episode because he has a lot of value that he can share with you guys. So, without further ado, Dalton, thank you for being on this episode.
Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate the opportunity. It's good to be here.
First, did I get your last name right?
Jantzen.
Jantzen?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
Unusual spelling.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay, so we have a business called Salted Oats.
Okay.
And the idea is we consult with people who are coach at executive levels, people who are either leading teams of people or business owners, small to medium-sized businesses in our region. And the idea is this: when you are a leader and you know where you're headed, you typically go like a motive force. It's something like a steamroller. You know, what did Iacocca say? Lead, follow, or get out of the way. And you're kind of just pushing or grinding. And when people get pushed, they have a natural tendency of doing what?
They resist, or they get out of the way, or
they either they flee, right?
Fight or flight, maybe.
Yeah, you got the options of fight or flight. But the reality is, most cases when people are pushed, they're going to tend to lean back into it and resist.
Okay.
So with Salted Oats, the idea came because I was consulting for a firm out of Albuquerque for about 10 years. And within the first 6 months of working there, I saw my dad. He was living at the time down in Austin, and I was living in Albuquerque. And he said, "Dalton, tell me about your job." I said, "Dad, I love my job. Right now, I am training mining supervisors in a copper mine in southwestern New Mexico."
Oh, wow.
And these guys are working all the time, and we were also in Arizona, a place called Morenci, which is 2,000 employees. It's our largest open pit mine in the United States. And
Wow.
I would train these guys, and they'd go back to their bosses, and they say, "Okay, when we learned this really cool stuff in class, and we're going to go do this." And the boss say, "Nah, just do what I always told you. Don't believe that crap." So they'd come back and say, "Well, we can't do it." And I told my dad, I said, the worst part about it is you teach them stuff that really is going to help them, and they can't implement. And I said, "You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink." And very softly, he said, "Salt their oats."
Like, what?
And, what? And I mean, I was going so hard, I almost missed what he was saying. I had to stop and go, what?
That?
And,
Dad, what are you talking about?
Yeah, salt their oats. Well, he was a farmer kid. I mean, he'd been a doctor for 53 years. He had a license to practice medicine until he passed away at 93 and a half years
wow.
old. He's all together there. But as a farmer kid, he learned that if you want to make a horse drink, you don't force them to drink. You put a horse's muzzle in the water, they'll just blow bubbles. They will not drink. What you have to do is salt their oats. You make them thirsty, they'll drink of their own.
That's amazing. I love that metaphor.
So that's where the name came from for our consulting firm. And that is we help you as a leader. You know where you want to go, but you have no clue how to motivate your people to get there. We help you reverse the energy from pushing them, which is actually push is a managerial tactic. You push towards goals, you push towards time, you push towards budget. The reality is you lead or pull. So the sense of pushing becomes pulling. And instead of management tactic, it becomes a leadership strategy. So we help with strategic planning, we do coaching, we do training inside of businesses. That's the tent-making job I have.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
I love it.
That's
I
awesome.
get to do the coolest stuff.
So is that under TW3?
No.
Or no, that's different. Okay.
No, that's a for-profit business, whether it's a little profit or big profit, that's what we do. We do that locally. We've done that around the world. I've been with large Fortune 500 companies in the past with my previous job with the Laporte & Associates. But here in Lubbock, it's Salted Oats, and it's an LLC. We're on the web, saltedoats.net. Take a look.
That's awesome.
All right. Now, we tent make to do that, but we actually...
It's your day job.
That's the day job, right? But in 2000, while we were still in New Mexico, we saw a real problem, and that was for people who were in ministry. Where do they go to talk to people who, when they're feeling bad? And it was particularly in the area of burnout. Right around 2001, in fact, on 9/11, I sat down, watched the towers fall. At that point, I was coaching. supervisor up in northern Montana on the backside of Yellowstone National Park in a mine, platinum and palladium mine. And I sat down and watched the towers falling. I'm going, God, am I doing everything I should be doing in the kingdom? And the Lord said, no, I have more for you.
Wow.
Which stimulated then a process whereby we started a ministry. Over time, that became known as 30, 60, 100 ministry. It started out as On Fire, Burned Out.
I like that name.
One word.
On fire or
needs
burned
analysis. Are you on fire or burned out? Well, the idea was let's help people who are in ministry because burnout is a huge issue with pastors. And that leads to porn addiction. It leads to separation, divorce, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole trail of tears that goes along with that.
Yes, there is.
So that led us to create a ministry because we couldn't find one, and we did a 501c3, and we began the process of creating a retreat center. And so for about 10 years, we owned, operated a nonprofit and a retreat center outside in the mountains outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
That's fun. Wow.
It's delightful. I washed windows, cleaned toilets, split firewood, cleaned the traffic, the entry areas, had to plow the snow, and my wife did all the stuff that's allied with keeping people. So we could house up to 24 guests and have groups there that would come and get away and do this stuff. But we also had day jobs, and so this became pretty daunting. Over time, we realized that we were trying to draw people like a hugely charged electromagnet, sucking people towards a retreat center, when what we could do could actually go to them. And it was a lot less energy. So like light, we turned off the electromagnet, we sold the property, and it became 30, 60, 100 ministries. Instead of On Fire, Burned Out, which the retreat was called The Rekindling, it became 30, 60, 100 ministries, which is the story of the parable of the sower. God has
how much returns
great
to
seed,
you.
Right? You go out, you prep the field, and when the field's ready, then he puts the seed in. He brings the increase, 30, 60, 100 fold. And that depends on him. The increase doesn't depend on you. It depends on him. And since 2011, the ministry's been called 30, 60, 100 Ministries. Here in Lubbock, what that looks like is a monthly luncheon.
Okay.
And you go,
What?
Well, internationally, we just got back from being in Cambodia, first part of May. And in Cambodia, we were training pastors because we were missionaries for 16 years in the jungle of Colombia.
Oh, wow.
From the day we got married, I left 11 days later. Vicky stayed in Miami, and I lived in Colombia in the southern part of the nation, and we were missionaries in the jungle.
Wow.
Our friends spoke Spanish. The fish were piranhas. The snakes were boa constrictors. The length of this room multiple times. There were snakes, the fer de lance and X24, that would chase you. They didn't just bite you and kill you. They would chase you to bite you and kill you. And that was kind of the lifestyle. Oh, plus we also had the mafia and the guerrilla. We're all there in that area. And it was a place that God protected us. And for 16 years, we had 3 kids there. We became part of a mission group that grew to over 1,000 people and 12 different mission stations. That energized us when we came back to the United States. And now that we're, by the way, I don't believe in retirement. I believe in retread, rotate, and keep rolling. I don't see anywhere in the Bible where people who reached a certain age said, okay, I'm going to check out. And the only ones who did that ended up major failures in their lives, and they ended up at the end of their life, like King Asa. He had a sickness in his feet, and instead of seeking God, he sought attention that was not of God, and it ended up damaging his good record. So what we're going to do is keep going until you're
done.
They'll carry us out boots first, is what I'm thinking.
I like that.
Yeah, when we're done. And also, something that Vicky reminds me of, that's my bride it'll be 50 years in February. So
congratulations on that. That's awesome.
I mention that because behind every man, there should not be behind every man. At my side, I have a really good woman.
Yeah, changing that phrase right there.
Yeah. So she did not, when God created Eve, he didn't take her from the head to be in charge of, or from his feet to be under him. It was from his side so that she'd be loved and cared for. Well, my bride has often said to me, don't carry your dreams to the grave. You need to exploit those suckers. You need to go after them. So she's been really a big part of me doing what I do.
That sure sounds like it.
Internationally, we annually go somewhere that's remote, distant, hard to get to, because there's people there who are not looking just to a podcast or a book or can you send me a video, but they want to sit face to face, look at you in the eyeball and ask you questions that you can't answer if you're on the other side of the world. I Skype with a pastor in Cambodia. We've done that since 2011. Yet when we come and show up, he's leading pastors across the nation. So we were teaching pastors from all across the nation. And that kind of stuff, leading leaders, is what we're about.
That's amazing. So you worked at Salted Oats, or you have Salted Oats, that is looking like TW3 here in Lubbock, a little bit for the ministry side of things. You mentioned that, I like what you said about dreams, about what your wife said about dreams. Don't let them still be
Don't go to the grave with your dreams.
Don't go to the grave with your dreams. What are some dreams you're living out right now?
Here?
Dreams you're trying to work on and live.
Things that we live for is to stimulate people who say, I am a follower of Jesus, to act like it. There's a lot of Sunday Christianity that happens. People drive down, you see them Sunday morning, they're going to church and they're in their best Bermudas. It's changed from when I was a kid. You had to be suit and tie. They show up,
best
they
sandals.
do they got the best flip-flops on. They show up, they give whatever token offering they give, and they sit in a service, and they leave that service, and they go home, and then they go back to being themselves. Well, that's a schizophrenic, at best, way of it's multiple personalities. God has called us to be one in Him, and who we are on a Sunday morning should permeate what we are all of the week. And it should actually be the reverse. Who we are all week should be reflected on what happens on Sunday morning. And I'm not telling you go to church, don't go to church. What I'm telling you is you need to be one and whole. And by one, I mean is if you are one way from your mouth out, get that way on the inside. If you're going to live internally like a pagan, then go ahead and fulfill that dream. But if you're internally someone who says, I'm a follower of Jesus, I want to be a Christ follower, I want to not just be committed to God, because when I'm committed, I stay in control. I want to be surrendered to God where He's in control and I'm out of control. And those kind of things, you all of a sudden go from being this scripted lifestyle. I can tell you that a surrender to the Lord Jesus doesn't just mean you at one point walked down an aisle and you made some kind of commitment, raised a hand, and somebody identified you. You walked down the aisle, they read you a little card, you signed something, became a member of a church, you got a Bible, and you walked down and said, okay, good. Now I got my insurance policy and I can live like the devil as long as I want to live. And on the day when the rapture happens, I'm out of here. Well, I don't think that's what we're called to. I honestly believe that we're called to occupy till He comes, whenever that is. And a good steward is someone who watches over what belongs to another person in such a fashion that when the owner comes, he can say, good job.
Good job. That is an amazing dream. How did you get to maybe fully realize this dream that you've got in you? What happened in you to have this dream that's in you?
Here, you can't see this on video. Feel here? Right here. Feel that? You feel the flat spot?
Yeah.
I got hit by a tree in a tree falling accident in the jungle. I should be dead.
Oh, wow.
All right?
While you were on mission?
We were missionaries.
Yeah,
because part of what we did was we filled the lungs of the jungle and we plant rice and corn and raise crops. So we're part of the guys who were destroying the world's jungle. You go, oh, no, don't tell me that. Well, it was part of life. But when you have an encounter where your life is gone and you're still there, and then you look at all the stuff that you're doing, whether it's with God or for God. And by the way, I don't believe we're called to do stuff for God. Honestly, I believe that's religiosity, which isn't just a flat out, it is an abomination to God.
Wow.
Being religious is to perform in actions and duties which you feel you are required of to become desired by God.
Right.
And the problem with that is you don't have to get desired by God. He already loves you. He so desires you that He wants you to be His in a fashion where you cannot bring enough sacrifice. You cannot bring enough of yourself to get Him to like you because He already did. So get over it. And don't do it for that, but do it with Him, because the things that He empowers go kabloom. And often, okay, so we in America, we measure everything.
Yes, we do.
We measure...
Performance is huge for us.
We want to be performance artists. We want to have not just our day on America's Greatest, this, that, or the other thing, but we want to be the ones who created the first business that did this, and we want to set a record there. And with God, the record may be what he did inside of you rather than what he did with you. The record breaker may be that you were able to release something that you held on to, an anger, a dispute, a hatred, an unwitting, detrimental part of your personality that you were able to just say, God, I just put that in front of you. And
I love what you're saying there, and I think this conversation is going into a place not talked about. I want to address something that I think may be culture driven, but we kind of talked about it, performance, and you kind of touched on it with religion, with Christianity, and that being a relationship, not like a performance.
Right.
What do you think compels us as humans, as fathers, wives, business owners, or people trying to work on their faith? What compels us to do these performances, to do these rituals, to do these works that we think will amount to something, but in reality, they're really not. They're keeping us from the truth. They're keeping us from results. They're keeping us from a relationship. What is it about us? Is it the culture that's affecting us? Is it we've just been told all this time? Is it what do you think about?
Okay, there's a scripture that Paul says, we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellency of the glory might be God's, not us.
Okay, translate that for me.
Okay, what that means is what God has put inside of us is in a pot.
Okay.
And it's a pot that if you take it over here and drop it, guess what?
It goes everywhere.
Shattered, right? Which means we're very fragile. And God put all of his glory inside of you and me, knowing that we're limited to a desire. We are very attracted. Squirrel! We're very attracted to the stuff that runs by us, shiny objects.
Oh, wow.
Right? And guys are attracted through their eyeballs. Girls are attracted more through their ears. And those things attract us to go after. So what is this whole performance ritual that we do? Does a 3-year-old say, I want to be the best entrepreneur and I want to be No, he says,
Mine don't.
I want to be Spidey Man.
Yeah.
Right? They want to be a superhero.
I want to be dad, or I want to be mom.
I want to be dad. Or I want to learn how to drive a car someday so I can haul the kids around. You don't have to do that. But they are not motivated to become that until they begin to just unfold in the world that kind of tells them, well, if you don't do this, you're no good. You know, if you go play t-ball, you got to hit the ball, right? And when you're going to run, you got to run against the clock. Don't run the bases third, second, first. Run first, second, third. And we're taught pretty quickly that as a little kid, if you're going to perform, do it right, or get out of the way. There you go, leaf fall, get out of the way again. So inherently in us, there's something that we want to be approved of, want to be loved. You look at all the guys who are sitting in jail that have no father and how they birth kids that have no father and they end up in jail time after time. The statistics are horrific in that regard. People that are in slavery to their own broken relationship don't get out of it without some kind of help. And that, I believe, comes from God.
Riker and I were talking earlier, yesterday actually, and we were kind of discussing how things just happen. And we kind of observed that everything reproduces itself.
Yes, sir.
If you're in a good relationship and it's healthy, that will reproduce health. If you're in a bad relationship, that will probably reproduce unhealthy tendencies, and things will come out of it that are like it. If you're trying to grow, pain comes out of it because growth is pain, so you're going to produce the things that are like it. And so I love what you're saying here. I think that if you're listening to this, we can take some amazing things out of this. If you're running a business, or if you're just a worker at a business, if you have friends, if you have family, if you know someone, you're just hanging out or whatever, we have the opportunity to change the dynamic of wherever we are.
Absolutely.
Because if we're not active in our environment, I think our environment will turn us into more of what we're in.
Yeah, you're not going to tend to not veg. You're going to tend to be more and more of a couch potato. And the light of day will not see. You will be kind of green and glowing because you're under fluorescent lights or no lights. And just the gaming console is giving off enough light for you to be a brilliant student.
What advice would you give to help us either change our environments or maybe just to be aware of these forces at play, that wherever I'm at, if I'm in a bad relationship and I don't know it, how do we identify? How do we, stop and look around and really assess how we're doing? Because for me, that's my biggest problem is I just go on to the next thing, and I don't really look back. I don't really assess my surroundings. Up until lately, I've been kind of sidelined by some things in my life that have made me stop. And just like you said, it took a tree falling on your head and it kind of wakes us up, right? I'm hoping that we can find more wake up moments in our life, in our routine.
If you are, so you're asking a good question. It's getting convoluted, so let's keep it simple.
Sure.
If you are a Christ follower, you need to stop what you're doing for just a moment. If you see yourself where you're just bombarded by so many things that are coming at you from so many sides, that you literally could not define which is the number one issue. You got a number one issue, and that is your relationship with the Lord. Your number one issue is, am I in good stead with the guy that I call the Lord of my life? If you're in good stead with him, what that means is when you pray, you don't just talk. You shut up and you listen. Because prayer is a conversation. It's not a directive, God, I need this. God, I want to win I need to buy a ticket. Shoot, yes, because the what is it now? The Mega Millions is, I don't know how many times. Right. It isn't, I want. It's, Lord, what do you want? What's the big deal that you have? See, if he has written a script for our lives, which if we will follow that script, we're going to be guided to do stuff that we never would have done. Where I live today, I'm going to be 70 next month. Where I live today, I am living the dream. I do not drive an MG or a Mercedes-Benz M-Class. I don't have a house in the best part of town. But those are not things that actually set you up for eternity. Those are all things that by themselves will take you into deeper and deeper need to watch over it. Because the more stuff you have, the more you got to watch over it. So it isn't about stuff. It's really about your relationship. Have you guarded that relationship? If you're not a Christ follower, I can say to you this. I am not talking to you about religion. I am talking to you about a relationship with a friend who is closer than your very best friend. I'm talking about one who dwells inside of you, is not there to make you do stuff. So it's not the old version of when you were sent to somewhere to get fixed. Like in religion, could you just spay me or neuter me, and I'll be fine. And then I got enough religion for life.
Not a hospital to go fix something.
So it's not a fix-it station. It's a relationship station where you develop a friendship with someone who cares so much for you that he gave up his life. All right. Now, if you're in this entangled web where you don't know where to stop, what to look at, you really do need to step back. As a consultant, we used to talk about getting in a higher helicopter. So if you've got other people giving you counsel, you got to go higher than they to look down over the situation.
Oh, okay.
Because you don't see the forest for the trees. You can't identify which is the big issue. So we'll often be told in performance management, okay, prioritize, do a pro-cons chart, do plus delta, prioritize now? Yeah. Which of these things needs to come first? And with our finite mind, we can say, okay, what looks to me like the biggest deal is I need to make more money, right? So I'm going to go out and make more money. What if that's not the biggest deal? What if the biggest deal is that I need to actually have relationships with people that I care about? Because if they know I care, they're going to want to buy from me the things that I have that I can do. Instead of leaning into, got to make more money, which generally perturbs you and makes you just frenetic and drive faster and break speed laws, therefore get tickets and car wrecks.
And lose money.
You lose money and all that stuff. All of a sudden you slow down a second, you back off of that and you go, what am I really about? Who am I here and why am I here? Simon Sinek has made millions on First Why.
Simon's great.
Right? And
just talking about the why. That's all he does.
He talks about stuff that is real. And my generation didn't ask that question. They want all what. And you ask them, well, tell me about yourself. Who are you? And then you first think, well, I'm a consultant, and you immediately go from who to what.
Yeah.
You don't ever answer who. Who am I? I'm the dad that has two sons and a daughter. And all of them are not just good citizens with their people. I'm proud to call myself dad of.
That's awesome.
And I've got 5 grandkids. The youngest is 3.5 and challenges every bit of my being to not go crazy, because she's in that stage right now where if you got little kids, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Meat. And I have one that just graduated from the university. He's getting ready to go to work. And his dad is delighted because he comes off the payroll, the family payroll. So where am I headed with this? The thing that when you stand back from all the
yeah, we're talking about the helicopter getting above the noise.
Above the noise. Then you say, all right, let the leaves settle. Now, what's the stuff that just gets blown away with the wind? What are the non-issues? What is that stuff? All right, blow all that away. And you might need enough time where you could actually let stuff settle.
Because I'm sure some things feel heavier than they really are, feel more important than they really are. Like, sometimes the first thing that comes to your mind is not always, like you said, money. I just need to make more money.
Right. It's like
maybe that could be a byproduct to help you, but let's go further than that.
Yeah, go past that. Money is actually a tool. It's not an end. It's a fruit of you doing the things that you love doing. Oh, and by the way, you get paid for. Right? Okay, that's what money is. Once the leaves and stuff blow away, you're going to begin to see things that are solid objects, whatever they may be. And those solid objects may be things such as devoting time to the right stuff,
right?
Breaking off some bad habits, right? And some of those things you're going to need help with. So that means you have to identify co-conspirators to help you break the chains, the bonds of those bad habits. Along the way, you might be in a relationship with somebody who's actually dragging you down. You got a buddy that every time you get together, you end up doing something really stupid. And then you're inside and
there's so much fun.
We had so much fun. But I have to call a lawyer every time I go out with this person, right?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So there's some things that you have to break off. And at the end of the matter, the person, I'll go back to the Christ follower thing, you're not in this to commit. And you hear about commit in church a lot, and it is a bad idea.
Oh, okay. Tell me why.
Don't commit.
Don't commit to what?
As long as you commit. Don't commit.
Don't commit.
And it's not about you committing. Okay, here's the story. Baptist, the guy who was the past president of the Baptist Southern Baptist Convention, brought a Ukrainian, Russian guy here to the United States, and they're going from church to church.
Talking. Yes, doing a circuit.
Yeah, running a circuit. And they were driving. They didn't fly, they drove. So about a week in of these different meetings, the American says to the Eastern European guy, so tell me, what's your opinion of the American church? He goes, they're committed. And the guy's driving down there going, I think that it's good, but it doesn't sound like it. And so he goes, well, so what do you mean? He said, well, last time I was here in the United States, you used a different word, and that was surrender. Now, the only appeal I hear people making is for you to commit. And the problem with commitment is you retain control.
Oh.
And when you surrender, you release
let go
control.
of control. Interesting.
So if you commit, let's just say you're asked to do something, will you commit to be I don't know what, parking director at our church? Maybe it's big enough or if it's a home church and you got to help people drive down the block and you'll shuttle them.
Sure.
You do the valet.
You got some duties.
Will you
tasks.
commit to that? And then somebody says, dude, I didn't know, you got a great voice. It's mellifluous. I really like it. Would you like to sing in the
team,
band,
the band,
the worship team? And then you go tell the guy who's in charge of parking, he says, you know what? I know I said I was going to do parking, but I got an opportunity to do worship team. And I just got to do that because it fulfills the dream I got. So sorry, I committed, but Sunday I won't be there. Okay, so you committed, you retain control. Now, I'm not saying never commit, but you need to surrender first, because if God's in the one who's direction to you, he's directing you to be in parking, then you got an assignment there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right? And that assignment comes from him. When you fulfill it, you can let it go. But fulfilling an assignment doesn't mean you drop it like a hot rock and say, well, gee, somebody else will pick that one up because I don't want it. It means you walk it to its end that you can do, and you make it better, because if we're stewards, you actually turn it in better than the condition you received it in.
No, I like this. Essentially what you're saying is we can only step back and assess the surroundings if we have a strong realization of who we are.
Boom.
Of the truths that are within us, the things we believe, the things we truly know. Not just being okay with the environment that we've either kind of created or just have happened. You know, I'm at this job, I have this spouse and maybe a kid, and I do these things, and that's just kind of where you're at right now. But who are you really? For us, our reality is founded in the Lord.
Yep.
For others, that's helpful, but maybe in a business situation, what's the business personality? What's the business goal? What's the, as my business, what am I here for?
There's an essential culture in every business.
Absolutely.
Which needs to be created.
Absolutely.
Most times it just occurs. It's kind of
it will happen.
No matter what.
It will happen. Either
you will
created
have a business culture.
or
right. And
chaos.
It's going to either be the result of all the chaotic occurrences, or it's going to be the determinate steps that you say, now these are the things we value. This is the vision I see for us in the future. 5 years down the road, we are this.
Yep.
So we're going to stop talking about in the future. We're going to do that today. We're going to say we are.
We're going to act today like we are in 5 years.
Boom. Yes.
Yes.
Now, you can do that. And you can fulfill that, and what it creates is an atmosphere where people, when they come to work, they see that you're not just one of those delirious, wild-eyed people who's creative and like, oh my God, we can be hanging on to this. This man is like, he's Steve Jobs on wheels. What are we going to do with him? But you can transmit that into language that they can see, I fit in this piece. They see themselves in the picture of that future vision.
Yep.
They find themselves in that.
And that, how valuable is that for employees to come in to a work?
That's better than Visa.
Yeah, they come into a work environment and they know exactly where they land in the company's, dynamic. They know where the company's headed. They know their relationship with the boss or with their coworkers, where those stand. That type of clarity, I believe, is transformative in the workplace.
I agree.
Yeah, so good, so good. We're going to move to our last segment. We call it Tic-Tac-Toe.
Cool.
Tick stands for tips that you have either come up with or someone has given you a tip that you just love and you're doing. Tac stands for tactics. What are some tactics or maybe habits you are doing regularly that are really beneficial to you, or you've seen come return to you and do some good things there? And the last one, toe, is total domination. Essentially, I'll ask you, what is total domination look like in your life? And we play a game of tic-tac-toe. You can be green, I will be pink. So you can be X's or O's. I'll let you go first. And so the first question is tips. What kind of tips, or one tip that has been transformative for you?
I was taught this tip when I was a 20-year-old kid, first arrived in the jungle. And the tip was this: work yourself out of a job.
Okay, what does that mean?
That's the tip. Work yourself out of the job means learn what you're doing so well that you can teach others to do it better than you.
Okay.
And then, when they take your job, you're going to float to the surface and be requested to go somewhere else where you repeat the process. And it takes you higher and higher throughout. Because what happens is, it's a selfless way of making others better than you. And when I heard that, I was a 20-year-old and I wanted my name in lights. The problem where I was, there were no plugs. We were in the jungle, right? I wanted somehow to be famous and really well known. Yeah. And there was no way to be doing that. So what I had to do was learn how to work in that world in a way that I was raising up people who could be better than me. When I became a consultant, I was coaching guys in business in Fortune 500 companies. And I would talk to them about work yourself out of the job. And some of the guys would look at me and they go, yeah. Some of the guys,
understand the concept.
They got it right away. And other guys would go, huh? And gals, because...
Yeah. I've heard that before, and at first I was like, well, then what do you do afterwards? But then as I kind of looked at that more, Essentially, you need to dispense of yourself to become indispensable. If you give and you give and you give, people are going to see that you're the one making everyone better.
Yep.
So then they will move you strategically to places that need improvement.
You become a high pot, which is not a hot rock that they throw you around because they have no way of holding on to you. But in any kind of organization, whether it's a small one where you are the one who is a motivating force, you are one who brings to the party the stuff that helps the team at a moment in time when you're in the trough because something went wrong or sales are not producing as they should, you have a voice and say, hey, you know what? This is what I see we can do. And you bring to them something which generates life. It's a life-generating thing. And what happens is the rising tide floats all boats. You're raising them up, and guess what? Your boat's going to rise with it. I've never been out of work because of this.
That's good.
And there's a lot of jobs that have had terminus. They've had an end point. This is the last stop on the bus. And somebody would say, Dalton, we're not going to do that anymore, but really could use you over here to do this, and it starts a whole new course.
That's awesome.
A lateral move, and it isn't about money. It's all about giving yourself away.
That's good. All right, I'll go here. All right, next one. TAC for tactics or habits. What are you doing on a regular basis that's giving value to you or others?
So there's a practice I have that my dad stimulated me to, I'm going to say 15 years ago. He said, Dalton, do you read through the Bible every year? And I said, I've read through the Bible. And he said, do you read through the Bible every year? No. He didn't go any farther than that. He said, here. And he gave me a paper reading plan. I still have it. It's getting dog-eared and messed up. And what I do is, because the Word of God is the written stuff that we can look at, I literally read cover to cover annually. And what it's doing is, when the word goes in, it changes me. It changes my thinking. And you go, well, okay, so you're working in businesses and you've got all this Bible in you. How in the world do you use the Bible? Okay, I don't read chapter and verse to them, and I don't quote scripture to them, and I don't act religious to them. But the principles that are laid out in the Bible, and sometimes there's wisdom in the word that you can't get anywhere else. And there are great writers, and there are people who've written great stuff, and I read a lot of books. Okay, as I mentioned Sinek earlier. But there are all kinds of people who are influencers in the world, but I will tell you, there's no book that is authored by the Holy Spirit out there. So that's the tactic.
Awesome.
Starts in the morning. I get up, go. There's coffee there somewhere in the room if it's available. Tea doesn't cut it for me. Sorry.
Yeah, got to go coffee. So Bible and coffee. All right, last one. Total domination. Dalton, what does total domination look like in your life?
I think that in my life, it's really the desire to be surrendered to God. There are a lot of people seeking wealth, fame, fortune, and they rise like shooting stars. I'm not going to name names, but you can look at what's on the news of people, and all of a sudden they're brilliant and they're unbelievable, and then 6 months later there's something that comes up in their life and you realize, oh my goodness, we followed this person and now we're embarrassed to mention their name. The idea of surrendering my life to God, I know that whether I have no influence at all or whether I have massive influence isn't the measure of success. The measure of success is, was I on mission to do those things which God directed me to do that to the fullest of my ability? So am I all in those things that he said? And that, to me, that's total domination.
That's awesome.
So when I sit down with you as an executive coach, I'm going to be all in your business. And you're going to find yourself saying things to me that you haven't told anybody ever anywhere. That stuff isn't mine to give away. So it's confidentially, it's maintained. But you know what happens is, when I'm sitting there with you, I'm saying, okay, God, how do I help Matthew in this regard? And I hear stuff from him while you're talking that when it comes out of my mouth, I go, whoa, that's so good. I got to take notes on that because it wasn't mine.
Get the inspiration right there.
But it answers a question that neither you nor I could have answered on our own. And this has happened in Fortune 500 settings, and it's happened in a little business. It's happened on the backside of riding down the street on a Yamaha four-wheeler in the middle of nowhere. So does it depend on the situation, the location? Not at all. It depends on the willingness to listen and the willingness to speak what you hear.
It's a beautiful, it's very poetic. Total domination in your life is total surrender.
Boom.
In your life.
Yep.
It's great. That's great.
I have a little thing I read daily. It's my declaration of dependence.
Dependence. That's awesome.
It's 10 steps that I declare daily over myself. That is in regard to Scripture.
On my calendar, July 4th is Dependence on God Day.
Cool.
That's so, yeah.
Well, I'm way over time. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to be with us here and to talk. For anyone listening, where can people find you?
They can find me at saltedoats.net or tw3lubbock.com. I've got a cell phone that I won't give over a blog, but you can reach me, and I'm very contactable. I mean, you can reach me at either of those places. There are links to contact.
Perfect.
So saltedoats.net or tw3lubbock.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being with us, and thank you all who are listening on this episode. Hopefully you guys got some wisdom, some information that you can take to your workplaces and help transform the way you guys do business so you can add more value to your company, to your employees, and to your customers. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Cool. Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you.